My name is Lindsey Tibbits. I'm in my last semester of the IDT program, graduating this May. For my thesis project, I built a digital mathematics textbook based on an existing open source calculus textbook on the TiddlyWiki platform. The question I will try to answer is, how can we create a digital platform for undergraduate math education that enables students to write on and in the text? This project will focus on adapting the TiddlyWiki platform and an existing calculus OER to build an interactive classroom resource. So first I'm going to cover some background on my topic and project and how I got there. Open educational resources are assets with low costs and limited copyright restrictions that support teaching, learning, and assessment. Utilizing openly accessible resources in education is not a new concept, and many educational institutions have even adopted OER solutions like MIT's OpenCourseWare. Additionally, grants do exist to help cover the cost of transition from traditional resource or learning modules to an OER method. On a long-term scale, the costs of supporting an OER resource are significantly less than traditional textbook teaching methods. While opening educational resources do not need to be digital, I focus on building a digital artifact for this project. Usage of OERs have increased over the past few years as awareness has increased and technology enabling digital access with more interactive capabilities have become readily available. A digital OER is more accessible and more easily integrates with other existing digital learning solutions. Technology has the ability to make a digital textbook more interactive and engaging for the reader. A study done by Castano, Munoz, Duarte, and Sancho Vinuesa confirmed that using the internet for interactive learning leads to a statistically significant improvement in academic achievement. The tools or strategies used by active reading can be considered interactivity within a textbook. And active reading expands on the traditional experience of just reading the words from left to right in a text until you hit the end and then moving on to the next page. These features can include content navigation, annotating, highlighting, commenting, and reorganizing or restructuring the material. Through annotations and tagging, readers can associate and organize text in many ways to make the content more meaningful to the individual reader and their educational goals. Tagging in TiddlyWiki is a way to organize tiddlers based on user-defined categories, and a tiddler can have 0 or more tags associated with it. Transclusion can assist with maintaining coherence and avoiding divergent copies. All or part of a piece of content can be transcluded within another. Wikis enable users to co-generate, co-edit, and co-synthesize content and knowledge shared within an openly available digital platform. A wiki features a structured set of pages linked in multiple ways to each other and to resources, and an open editing system in which anyone can edit any page. TiddlyWiki is an open source platform created by Jeremy Rustin. It is a nonlinear content platform that allows authors to organize and present complex information. It is lightweight and requires no client-side software for its use. A wiki in this platform is stored in one file. That includes all the HTML, content, and styling. It can also be extended using plugins. I use Node.js as an authoring platform, which breaks the wiki into individual tiddler files, but also allows the user to render it in a single file format, like the browser version, or even render a static form. I first learned about TiddlyWiki in the IDT program in a class of Professor Schneider's, where he used it to host his syllabus. After that, I took another course with him where we got to build our own TiddlyWiki throughout the class. It has been used in many different ways, including but not limited to photo archiving, blogging, and presentations. TiddlyWiki does not have a big learning curve to be a user or author at the basic level. The tool can grow with the user, allowing from the most basic user to a computer programmer to utilize the platform within their skill set. This platform is interesting because it is open source, ever evolving, and requires only a modern browser. I have chosen TiddlyWiki for its affordances as both an authoring tool, specifically in its support for mathematical formulas through the JavaScript adaptation of LaTeX named KaTeX, and a student tool through the abilities to write on and in and tag the text. This project required researching currently available OER calculus textbooks with a Creative Commons license that would support the reuse and modification that I would be doing. Open source textbooks can be found in many formats, including EPUB, HTML, and LaTeX. I investigated all three of these formats to determine the most suitable option for this project. Some considerations I made were the amount of rework required to retrofit the content within TiddlyWiki and the ability to easily break up the content into digestible tiddlers. For those of you that aren't familiar with the TiddlyWiki platform, a tiddler is the most basic unit of storage. After much research, trial, and error, I settled on using the LaTeX file format as my base for conversion. EPUB was the first format I crossed off this list. While it can be a very useful format, the addition of the mathematical formulas made any attempt at conversion to a format that TiddlyWiki could consume very difficult. Next came HTML. One would think this would be very straightforward since TiddlyWiki supports HTML content, but the problem here was that all of the mathematical formulas were coded in Mathmul and not LaTeX. There was no reliable Mathmul to LaTeX converter that I was able to find, so I looked at using just a straight LaTeX file. The LaTeX file format was easy to copy and paste into the tiddler. I took one chapter at a time and transcoded my way down the hierarchy from chapter to section to subsection to example. There were even some sub-subsections. Throughout this process, there were a few major find and replace activities I had to complete. One was replacing all the single dollar signs with double dollar signs, a difference between the LaTeX and KaTeX syntax as a way of defining where the formulas start and end. Another hiccup I found was that in LaTeX itself, it lets you define keywords that equate to a longer string of formatting or formulas and reuse that keyword throughout the file. The KaTeX plugin doesn't yet support that, so any of the custom defined keywords had to be replaced with its true value. While this did create some manual work, it wasn't as grueling as it sounds, and I thought that the use and experience of converting the LaTeX file would be more relatable, because that would be the content that would be more frequently reused instead of written by scratch from STEM professors and students. Transclusion affords reuse by allowing content creators to include existing text or subsets of it in new content without duplication. Removing the reliance on cut and paste helps to ensure consistent content and messages, and also simplifies content updates. An update to a piece of content that is transcluded in many other places automatically propagates to all of its references. One origin, one update. TiddlyWiki is designed for reuse through the affordances to create references or to include content in many places without duplication through transclusion. An example of this reuse in the context of Wikified mathematics would be using transcluded formulas. A formula could be written during its initial definition in the text and then used as it's required later. A simple transclusion can insert the formula from its origin. I utilized the transclusion functionality within TiddlyWiki pretty heavily for this project. The plugin I used for the mathematical formulas is based off a JavaScript library called KaTeX. It was originally developed by the Khan Academy and is based on the LaTeX library. It's very lightweight and fast loading, but so far it still only supports a subset of the LaTeX library and commands. It is licensed under the open source MIT license, and it's pretty well documented. The big benefit of this platform are the n-dimensional ways a person can navigate and consume content. Individuals have different learning, reading, and organizational styles, and this multi-directional navigational strength plays to that fact. 3 clear styles of organization and navigation were a focus for me: table of contents, internal and external dimension based on a topic. A table of contents is something you would traditionally come across in a paper textbook, which makes it relatable. The internal navigation takes advantage of the linking abilities within TiddlyWiki to make references within tiddlers to its peers, parents, and children. Finally, I built a topic-based navigation by grouping sections related to similar mathematical concepts together and tagging them as such. I also integrated an additional interactive feature through a random quiz generator. Anytime the tiddler is loaded, it spits out a random set of homework problems from the master set in the text. I wanted to do a lot and had to narrow down the scope to enable focus within the timeline, so I ended up choosing to focus on a complete working textbook instead of focusing on creating tons of plugins and features. So I'm going to switch and show you the wiki. So this is running on my local computer in Node.js. This is the table of contents. It has full expand and collapse features, and it bases on the hierarchy that you build as you build the Tiddly Wiki, and they all link to within each other.
That one's marginally different than the one you shared with us.
Yeah?
Yeah, the title, the one you shared is My Tiddly Wiki.
Okay.
That's fine. So it's just, yeah, so I don't know if anything else changed.
Okay, I'm just going to make a note to...
Well, yours is right, so just make sure we reshare it.
Yeah, that's the share of the updated version. Additionally, I have some tiddlers here where you can view by the chapter, section, topic, see all the examples and homeworks. So I pulled in anything that was tagged with chapter. Within the section, everything's broken down by chapter, and these are the sections within it. The view by topic, basically what I did was I took all the sections and read through them enough to get an idea of what topics they were covering and found some keywords that grouped them together. So someone that, is interested in limits can view all the limit sections at once, and so on. This is the random quiz tiddler. So anytime you load this tiddler, it'll load the title of the homework problem. So if you want to go reference it after, and then the problem itself. And if you leave and come back to it, you'll see the content has changed. Within the chapter, I'll just walk through one of the chapters. Let me actually expand this. So this chapter is pulling in all the associated sections, and within those sections, they're pulling in the examples all through transclusion. All of these orange links are links to the actual tiddlers that contain the content themselves. And I had some formatting here. Anytime an example gets pulled in, it gets formatted a little differently to help it stand out. Just gonna go to...
Can you show us some of the, for this chapter, the source code for this tiddler, and then kind of drill down to show us the source code for the tiddlers that comprise it?
Yeah, so for the chapter, I could have used a list, but it was small enough that I just threw them in like this. So let me go to one of these sections.
So just go back to that for a second.
Yeah.
So just so you see, Bill, the concept there is that those are all separate chunks of content named Newton's method, etc. And so editing Newton's method will change the techniques chapter.
And this word section, this is a what we call a template tiddler that controls the way the content is displayed. So you can add like styling or display only certain fields of the tiddler when you tag it this way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then so now we'll look at Newton's method, right?
Yeah. So this is the source code for Newton's method. So any of the double dollar signs denote all the Katek code. This is an example that's transcluded within here, but for the most part, the keywords in the Katek plugin are almost always the same as LaTeX. So this might be familiar.
So that little line between the two dollar signs, can you put it on preview mode so we can?
Mhm. Where's my
Where's your toolbar?
missing? There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so these lines here are what's showing up right here.
Those are the first three equations that we see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually kind of neat. What else? Is there anything else you wanted to see here, Steve?
No.
Oh, the other thing I was going to show was, and the view by topic. So here's applications. I go into averages. If I want to see other applications, you can click on these tags at the top, even with subsection. Anything tag subsection, you'll see here. Anything with that's in the integrated application section is here. And then anything tagged with application. So there's, depending on your style of learning or navigating content in general, there's pretty infinite ways to get to everything. I'm sure you know that, Steve.
Well, you've got three main dimensional navigation, right? Not
Yep.
So three. So topic, section, or something like that, and chapter, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, when I'm running I'm running your Tiddler, I'm running your Tiddlywinky wiki. Wiki, yeah. I assume that I am not an author the way you're an author. So I was having trouble from my end making notes. Do you think you'd have more luck putting notes into a section?
You mean editing it and adding to it?
Well, in your thesis, which I read as well, one of the virtues of this environment is that you should be able to, as a student, take notes as you move through.
Yeah,
Right?
that was
learning.
through having an annotation feature, which I wasn't able to include in the scope because this. Steve and I kind of talked back and forth about whether or not I wanted to do a handful of like features or plugins, or actually get a fully content textbook in here. So I did do that. Although I know, Steve, in one class we used for Vandendorp that annotator, and I thought about using that.
Yep. So my suggestion was that you, part of your document, your thesis document, needs to be recalibrated to suggest that a wiki doesn't need to be collaborative to still be a wiki, and that you don't mention that there's an annotation feature.
Okay.
So now that the secret is out, if the annotation feature had been implemented, would I be able to do this with a Surface tablet? Can I do it with a pencil, or do I have to use the math syntax?
That's a good question. I would assume at least that if I was using the same annotator plugin that I used in a previous course, I don't think that would be writable in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able, you mean, could you write formulas in a way
It's
that
like in his handwriting.
Draw pictures, write formulas, right, by hand.
Yes, you could, but they'd be stored as images, not as formulas.
But to the user, do I care?
I don't
Not
know.
necessarily.
Yeah.
You care if as a user you create a formula that's an image, that someone else wants to edit it. They wouldn't be, because the images wouldn't be editable. But if you wrote a formula in the KTech, then another student or professor could edit and say, "Oh, here's your mistake in your formula."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But on an image, you couldn't do that. So, right, because there's no exchange, sort of.
No, there isn't some application that could be invoked. So you should open Paint.
Like an image to KTech.
Something like
that would be very cool. Next thesis, right? No, I mean that's a great idea. That would be I've sort of like the text to or speech to text, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of falls under one of the future research, things that I thought in my experience in the conversion, that having some kind of plugin that converts the MathMul or the LaTeX directly to the Kotek syntax would be helpful. So that kind of falls in there.
And while we're sort of on this, and not to interrupt you, so I have a install base, I guess you would say, of many hundreds of hours into authoring Word documents.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that in your thesis you said going from PDF and integrating to this environment was not the way to go. PDF is more of a graphical kind of thing. Can one incorporate Word documents in a not trivial but reasonable way?
So,
yes.
yeah.
Lindsay doesn't know this one yet because it's relatively new, but there's a
Word to LaTeX.
No, actually, I think it goes directly, and I have to look at it again. I think we import Word documents directly using the Word styles as the guideline. So you'd have to format it with heading 1, heading 2. I don't know that there's treatment for the Word equation editor yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's Word equation to Kotek. That ought to exist, because that should be fairly.
That's the whole show in mathematics, right? Yeah.
What's that?
In mathematics. That's the whole show.
Yeah. I think we could do that, at some point with some effort. But I know that the Word documents are coming in pretty cleanly, and certainly Excel spreadsheets are coming in, although that doesn't help you very much. So, yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So, two suggestions here, which I actually put in the chat. So see how did you see my chat, Lindsay?
I'm trying to get to it. There we go.
So if you add that tag, $:/tag/sidebar.
Yeah.
You can just go ahead and do it now, because it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you'd come across this, but I think it's capital B sidebar. Yeah. And then when you save it, then it's added to your toolbar there. So now you can click on table of contents in your toolbar. Open recent.
Cool.
Yeah. And you could do the same thing. Yeah. So I figured you'd probably miss that. And you probably want to do that same thing with your brief. And then there's there's a list before field that you create that tells it where to put it. And I gave you the link to tiddlywiki.com that explain it.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks.
Yeah, just because that should be there. That's just a simple navigational tool.
Yeah. Do you think with the annotation piece that it would be worth just spending the time adding that annotator into it instead of taking it from the thesis itself?
Well, I'd love to see you do it, but it's not necessary. I mean, it would be great.
I just wasn't sure if it was like the time and effort spent, was it a wash which way I went? Or?
Oh, it's much easier to take stuff out of your thesis than to add code to your book. No doubt about what's going to be faster. The annotation it's a little tricky. It's a little annoying. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do it, that would be great. If not, I'll add it in someday. If I do it over the summer, I'm hopeful that I have a student over the summer through the SERP program where I had already kind of developed that as a project for the SERP project, which is about writing textbooks. So we'll get it done.
Cool.
Yeah, because it's not trivial.
Yeah, I think there's definitely more that can be added to the platform in general to make the textbook experience better, but that's kind of the benefit of the platform is there is so many opportunities to add so much.
Yeah,
you're not really limited.
Yeah, my main comment on your document is to recast your definition of a wiki from something that's collaborative to something that's quick. Because not all wikis, this is a wiki that's not collaborative. It's a read-only thing. You know, and if we were going to release this as a textbook, we would do more work with the toolbar and stuff to take all the editing capabilities out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I had set it up. I had gotten as far as setting it up so that at least the right hand doesn't show up at the start. But yeah, you'd have to take out a lot of it.
yeah, you just take a couple. You just basically, I mean, there's a way to do it so that on startup it doesn't have any edit capabilities, and you create a little secret button that turns it into an authoring tool.
I like that secret button.
Yeah, basically what you do is you just have you just create a button that has no image, and you put it up somewhere in the corner where you know where it is, and
Makes sense. You don't accidentally click there.
Yeah, but no, I think this is very cool. And that's,
Cool.
Yeah, and so Bill, you could use this as a textbook in your course.
I've been thinking through that. I mean, it seems like there are pluses and minuses, and I don't believe the thesis addressed this. But I guess from a market point of view, right now, publishers will get you for $80 a course, a very, large-scale electronic environment.
Yeah.
Right? And there are all sorts of different pricing things. I think that publishers are getting a little bit scared right now because of this and because of other innovations. So, that would be an interesting thing to benchmark against. Like Stewart's Calculus is available through, who's the publisher? Cengage, ultimately, right?
Yep.
That's the mothership for that course. And if you go through what's available, I do prefer Lindsay, I prefer your environment here that you're demonstrating to the ebook that's available through, Cengage, which is kind of busy, and it's really just like pictures of the textbook.
Mm-hmm.
So not as interesting as this. What I think they're able to do now, and this was, if you don't mind, as long as we're engaging this, maybe I'll ask you a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
The environment is pretty rich, and it has lots of videos and lots of graded homeworks, and so professors are going to like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know that when I was looking through your Tiddly Wiki, that you integrated video in this.
I didn't integrate video, but videos can easily be embedded, like YouTube videos and stuff like that. I'm not sure that they can actually host the videos themselves. In theory, if you hosted this on a server, you could. But you can definitely embed videos from anywhere without issue.
So if they're externally available, you just put in a link, no problem.
Yeah, you can link it, or you should be able to even embed the video within the page itself and view it right there.
Do you, and this will, I guess, talk to the, part of your thesis involves, I guess, learning theory, one would call it. You probably have a better name for it. When I go through in my classes, okay, so I've done a fair amount in other environments too. And so in Coursera, I was just spacing the name for a moment. In Coursera, my videos tended to be 5 to 10 minutes. In my courses that are available on Blackboard, I'm doing videos more like real lectures, like for an hour. Have you come across optimal video lengths? Is one of those to be preferred?
That's a good question. In my research, no, I didn't look into that or come across that at all, but that would be a very interesting learning theory to see, like, where you get the most focus, right?
Right, and also platform. I have a feeling
Russ's work in this, and some of the other students in the program who are studying this are all tending towards shorter videos, not longer videos.
And available on telephones? Like your cell phone should be able to show the video, right? Yeah, but that doesn't have to do with the length, but assuming that... No, I'm interjecting that you have to be aware of the platform, especially if you're putting text on the screen, or I frequently show code on the screen.
Yeah, you can open this on your phone and it actually looks pretty good.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Good.
It,
Good.
and the videos work, but the videos are getting shorter and shorter. We had a student thesis last spring, I think, was focused on these 2-minute videos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Khan Academy tends to run really short, 5 to 7 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So those are, and the other thing that you can also do on lots of platforms is you can stop. So even take your 1-hour video and you can chunk it into like 7 chunks and give students access into each of the 7 chunks with a start and a stop key.
Which is kind of similar to like one of the big things about TiddlyWiki is chunking up the content into like more digestible, smaller pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, sometimes if you're doing something at depth in mathematics, maybe one wouldn't want to do that, right? I can see, on a Newton's method example, 1 5-minute could be just drawing pictures, and I think frequently it's used to find the zeros of functions. So you draw pictures, you show graphically what's happening, that's one video. Then you do the formula development in another video, and then you do examples in another. I could see that. But when you get into sort of deeper mathematics, some things are just going to take 20 minutes to say. No getting around that. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
sorry, I had to let the dogs out, so I had to mute myself.
That's
It's
okay.
inevitable that they bark.
Is that a euphemism for something else, or were you literally letting your dogs out?
Literally let the dogs out. Because I knew that if I left them in, they would bark in the middle of this, and I was right.
Yeah, I gave my kids each a list of things to do to occupy them till I was done, so they wouldn't knock on the door.
Right. So yeah. So this is well, Bill. Thanks for your thoughts, Bill. And if you're seriously interested in doing this, we could use this as a base. And and like I said, I'm hoping. I know the decisions on the SERP programs are coming soon. That's the undergraduate research program.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get one of those students, then one of the things they're doing is working on these textbooks. And so
Cool.
it's really cool to have a base. This is a great base. And then we'll add, I think the annotation feature is the main thing. Yeah. And the hosting, the reason that, Bill, you couldn't write in it
Uh-huh.
is hosting and saving in a browser is really tricky at the moment.
Only Firefox, right?
Not even Firefox anymore. That's over.
I guess I've been working in the Node.js for so long, so the TiddlyFox is no more.
TiddlyFox is no more.
Bummer.
With version 57 of Firefox, TiddlyFox is over. So we have to, basically you have to host it on a server if you want people to be able to write to it.
Yeah. When we did the UpDog, that worked well too.
Well, UpDog is not quite, that doesn't handle saving, so we've been using TiddlySpot
Oh, okay.
in the class, and that works pretty well. And I've written stuff so that people can make a copy, so that they could go and make their own copy of the textbook, and then write it. And then that's really interesting. It has its downsides, and like everything else. But I wanted to ask you one more thing. If you could show me your quiz generator and how that works.
Sure. So the quiz generator was one of the ones that I posted on the discussion board about that you and I were talking about, the main TiddlyWiki. So there was actually someone on there who had written a plugin that adds a shuffle functionality. So you filter based on whatever you want to filter, and then shuffle does the randomness, and then you can determine how many. So in theory, you could expand this to have, give input, only give me stuff from chapter 1 and I only want 2, and you could make that more dynamic too.
Okay. So no,
it works pretty well.
Yeah, it actually really is random.
Yeah.
But you have a library of static questions, right? The questions are not stochastic. You're not generating.
I'm not generating them on the fly. No, they're
Okay.
They're all the homework problems within each of these homeworks.
Is there such a thing that would generate literally generate the questions? Have you come across that in any of your platforms?
Generates data within the questions.
Nice.
So,
Yeah,
That's true.
Means, dimensions, whatever.
Just change the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
You could totally do that. You know,
that's very cool. Yeah, right.
That's cool.
And that's great when you're automatically grading. Now these aren't automatically graded, right?
No.
There's no submission. There's no interaction. There's nothing, right? This is static in a way that the platform itself is self-defined and doesn't communicate with anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You get stuff back from it. There's no interaction.
There's interaction to the individual, but no interaction elsewhere, like outside.
Yeah, so benchmarking the competition, hopefully that'll be a feature that comes. But that's not hostile to the nature of the platform and that it could appear. And that's harder than you think. You know, multiple choice is very easy to do like that.
Right.
But if you're going to be writing down essentially formulas as your answers, well, you know.
Yeah, at that point, your TiddlyWiki is useful for preparation of material, for information architecture, but any kind of interaction between students and faculty that involve exchanging questions or submitting quizzes and stuff, then TiddlyWiki is not useful for that. And then you like you wouldn't use Word for that either. You know, you got something else sitting on it that's going to display TiddlyWikis, and then something else will handle the interaction.
Right.
One nice thing about the Coursera authoring environment is you can actually put questions inside of your videos.
Yeah.
So you roll the video for a couple of minutes, the question pops up, you answer it satisfactorily, and the video starts rolling again. Yeah.
No, so this is that. Then you're at that point you're dealing in Coursera and stuff like that, and that's an extraordinarily rich and expensive platform.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, someday those things will filter to the free things, but not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Blackboard too. You know, it's like they've got all these features that sit outside of it, and that's why we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to Blackboard.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And so yeah. This is great. Did you? I think I'm happy.
That's good.
I'm happy too. A couple editorial suggestions in the thesis.
Sure.
I mean, are you still open to that, or has it been printed already?
No, she's open. I'm definitely open to it.
There's a place where you use the word robust
in
an unconventional way. So I'm looking on page 26, and it says the tagging structure will be a robust process. Do you just mean difficult there? Or, we could, if I knew what you were saying, we could find some synonyms.
Yeah, let me just pull it up quickly. Oh my God.
Robust usually means like hard to damage, so to speak.
Yeah, I didn't mean, probably should have pulled out the thesaurus. I didn't mean difficult, more so as, for lack of a better word, big, lengthy.
Yeah. Right, so I leave it to you.
I'll think of something a little more.
Statistics robust means like, you can violate the assumptions a little bit, and that wasn't where you're going either.
Yep, good point.
And
thank you.
Another one was when you were talking about, I think it was Khan Academy, I'll look it up real quick. The creators over at Khan Academy, Brilliant wrote or cross-browser supported. I don't know what the word brilliant is doing in there. It's under your heading, do you say KSEC or KOTEC?
I say KOTEC, but that's what I learned from Zora, so I don't. She's the only person I've heard say that out loud. Yeah, so that'd be on page 24. Honestly, no idea. I think I just need to take that word out.
Wasn't sure where you were going there. Yeah, okay.
I must have had a stroke in the process.
But I found this hugely interesting, and I really appreciate being part of your process here. It was really great.
Thank you. It's great to have you. And it was kind of cool because I've got, a programming background, and being in the IDT program kind of helped me work more of my softer skills in some ways while still doing some technical stuff. But I also have a minor in math in my bachelor's degree, so I really like math. So it was kind of cool to get a little bit of both in this project.
Very good. No, it was terrific.
Yeah, so my comments are pretty brief, and I'll send them to you as well. But besides sort of reframing your discussion of wiki so that it doesn't require collaboration, and I'll encourage you to define wiki somewhere other than Webster's, which is not going to be a very helpful definition. Wikipedia would be better for that, but you could also go to Ward Cunningham pages, which still exist, to kind of get that, which I think you're basically paraphrasing. Take out the notion of annotator. A couple of places, I think in your design section, you just have to fix the tense, so that instead of making it as though you're going to do something, make it as though you did it, which you did. So instead of, for this project, I will design and build, it's I designed and built. So we have to talk about it in past tense. Put your references in alphabetical order, which should be pretty straightforward. And then, because I don't think you're using numeric references like LaTeX would do. So they should go in alpha order. And then somewhere in there, you talk about supporting n-dimensional ways of navigating, and you don't really, so you just support 3, which is perfectly good. So just reference it that way. You can't really navigate, and I think that might have been in your presentation. I don't know if it was in the text, but I mean, it's nice to think that you can, but you can't really. So yeah, but other than that, yours is great, and you're all pretty much ready to go. And I'll have something once you get your final document done. It becomes a PDF, and I'd encourage you to. You could even embed the PDF. No, that's fine. Never mind. Yeah, and then once we deliver it, I don't know why the wiki itself gets delivered as an HTML document plus the PDF of your thesis, and that should be good.
Cool. Okay.
And that should be everything. So thanks.
So other than fixing up and making these changes, so is there a special way to submit it, or do I just send everything to you after I'm done?
Actually, Russ is administering the thesis program for the semester, so send it to me and just add him so that he gets it, because he's responsible for making sure that they get to where they have to go. He manages that this semester. There's a signature page that you need to have. Maybe you have it, and I don't remember seeing it.
No, I don't have it. Is it somewhere I can get it, or Russ needs to add it?
It's on the web somewhere. It's a pretty standard signature page.
I will find it, or I'll just take it from someone else.
Yeah, or take it from someone else. It's almost like where you must have gotten the title page format from somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah, and that's it.
Cool.
Yep. So that's good.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I have a couple questions or comments for you. Is it typical for the committee to discuss after the candidate?
It's what we can. So we'll kick you off. Lindsay, goodbye.